We're going to hop into the Q&A mailbag, and then I'll be done. It's a pretty quick episode this time, I know. But I only had a few topics that I really wanted to talk about and that were like super interesting to me and I thought would be interesting to you guys. So this one might be a little bit long. I'm not sure. We're into the Q&A mailbag. I'm excited. I love the Q&A mailbag. I love answering you guys' questions. And I love hearing things that I didn't think about before because I kind of go through some of the same stuff, in my mind. I'm thinking maybe I have a one-track mind sometimes and I think of sort of similar topics to each other. So hearing what you guys want to see on the show is super interesting. So please drop a comment below, ask me some questions. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you guys want answered. This question actually comes from Bryson Martin, my absolute boy, one of the hosts of the 816 Hour. If you guys like hearing about sports, if you guys like this show, then I urge you to go on to SoundCloud and look up the 816 Hour. It's a great podcast. Bryson is one of the hosts on that podcast, and I think he does a great job. He's somebody that I love talking sports with, so thank you for the question, B-Mart. You're one of the GOATs to me, so thanks for all the love and support. Here is what he asks. Are you buying into the Raiders' hot start at all this season? Do they have a shot to dethrone KC for that top spot in the AFC West? How much does getting Bashaud Breeland and Mike Pennell help Kansas City? Love the vids, man. Keep killing it. Thanks again. So as for the Raiders, I see them more as a slightly above average, middle of the pack team in the NFL. They're 2-1 right now, and they just took their first loss this weekend. And I think that it really just proves that they're not really there with the big boys of the AFC, right? They lost 36-20 to the Patriots, a team that has looked pretty fantastic so far, and probably the team that's come closest to beating the Seahawks. I know the Cowboys were up there, and I do think that they'll get a chance to grab a wild card spot, but at this point, it's not a guarantee. The first 2 weeks, right, when they, went 2-0, they faced the Panthers, who I like the Panthers, right? And I like their quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. And I like their running back, Christian McCaffrey. But it's not a complete team. And it's not a team that we expect to be really good in the NFL this season. So I think that one was the Raiders being better. And the Raiders being a good team. They go and play the Saints. And this is a primetime game. It's their first game in their new stadium. And I think that the Saints look slow. And I think the Saints are kind of starting to fall off a little bit this year. So it was a good win for the Raiders, but it wasn't, beating the Saints 2 years ago or maybe even last year. I don't think this Saints team is as good. I just don't think that they're ready yet. I think that they have some growing to do. And they have a lot of solid pieces, and I think if they can keep getting Josh Jacobs involved a lot in the offense, it takes pressure off of their quarterback, Derek Carr. And I think that could help the offense to win games, because if Derek Carr, their quarterback, is asked to throw the ball too much, then, he's really good at not making mistakes. But at the same time, it's not something where, he is guaranteed to have good games. He had a pretty decent game against the Patriots, but he's not a perfect quarterback, and he's not a quarterback who I'd say can win you games solely off of his talent. I don't believe that they'll challenge KC for the division, the AFC West, but I can see them sneaking into the playoffs. If you look at the other teams in the AFC West, you have guys like the Broncos, who are extremely injured right now, and their starting quarterback is out for the time being. And they were seen as a wild card contending team. So with them kind of to the wayside for now, I think that might open up a spot. You look at the Chargers, and, they just went through a quarterback change. I'm not sure at how, their rookie Justin Herbert plays throughout all 15 weeks, I guess. But I don't think that the path to getting to the wild card is extremely tough. And I think that they should be able to win games against the Chargers and against the Broncos. And so if they can just keep winning their games outside of their division, like they did against the Saints and like they did against the Panthers, I think that they'll have a really good shot. Okay, so that's really all I have for the Raiders. So let's move on to his next part of the question, which is about Bashaud Breeland and Mike Pennel, and asking what their impact is going to be on the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm going to go individually and just go Bashaud first, Mike Pennel second, and we'll talk about their impact on this Chiefs roster and how much getting them back means. So I believe that getting Bashaud Breeland back will be a huge sigh of relief for the Chiefs. It's not a game-changing kind of getting back your guy, but I think it's a sigh of relief, and here's why. It seems like every week a new cornerback or a new defensive back is getting injured. This time it's their standout rookie, L'Jarius Sneed, who injured his shoulder. At first it seemed like a collarbone injury, but they just confirmed it was something with his shoulder. Not sure for how long he'll be out just yet. But, last week it was Antonio Hamilton and Charvarius was out that game. Their cornerback depth is getting a little slim, and Bashaud was already one of their best cornerbacks. So getting him back kind of shores up this defense, and I think having him play alongside Charvarius Ward and Rashad Fenton should be good enough to not let up any huge games from opposing wide receivers. And I think the big thing is that it allows the defensive line to get more pressure and even coverage sacks. That's not something we've seen too much from KC just in the last few years in general, is coverage sacks. Playing such good coverage that it allows somebody from the D-line to sneak in and take down the quarterback. And they played a lot of quarterbacks who are good at, getting outside the pocket, using their legs so far. Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, probably the three best, if not Patrick Mahomes up there. So I think if they manage to keep their guy inside the pocket and get some more pressure, I think it's going to look even better for this Chiefs defense. As for Mike Pennel, I love Mike Pennel. Let me just say that. I love Mike Pennel, so this could be biased, but I could be overestimating this, but I think he could be the key piece in making this Chiefs team unstoppable again. The team that we saw that made incredible comebacks, that looked like they were unbeatable in the last part of the 2019 season. I think that's what Mike Pennel could be. And here's why. He proved to be fantastic against the run in the games he played for the Chiefs last year, and the Chiefs have looked bad at stopping the run this year. If you could find any significant weakness in the Chiefs so far through their 3-0 start to the NFL season, I think that it would have to be their run defense. They're giving up 153 yards to their opponents every single week. 153 rushing yards, and that's not good. And you can put some of that on other parts of the defense. But I think we have really good run-stopping linebackers. You look at Wilson, and even Daniel Sorensen as a safety can play pretty good run-stopping, run coverage. But it looks like the defensive line is really where, we need to do better at run-stopping. I like Chris Jones, and I think he's extremely talented. I think he's one of the best D tackles in the league. But if there was any weakness to Chris Jones' game, it would probably be run defense. I think having another D lineman like Mike Pennel, who is just fantastic at stopping the run. I mean, he even made some plays to get after the QB last season, but we all know why he's there. And I think if they can just get that aspect up, of their defense, combine it with the run-stopping linebackers, I think it might be over for the rest of the league. Because if you have a team that can play both sides of the defense extremely well, and they have Patrick Mahomes on their team with all the weapons that he has, I mean, the worst part of the team, I guess, would be the offensive line at that point. And even then, they didn't look very bad last night. I'll tell you what, they didn't. And so then I would say the Chiefs may not have any significant weaknesses. They would look like what I said the Ravens looked like last week. And, we saw what happened to the Ravens. But like I said before, I think the Kansas City Chiefs are the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. And so those two re-editions, I guess you could say, are going to be big. And I think that people should be watching and seeing what this team looks like, later in the season, because I think it's going to be scary. And I don't know. They could look better than last year at this point because they looked really good last night, I'll tell you what. So watch out for those Kansas City Chiefs, I'll tell you what. So that's everything. That's the whole mailbag. That's the